Hello and welcome to the Indiana State Police Roadshow. I'm your host, Sergeant John Perrine, the Public Information Officer for the Indiana State Police Indianapolis District. The Roadshow is brought to you by the Indiana State Police Alliance and Cops for Kids, a subsidiary of the State Police Alliance. For more information about our sponsor, visit www.indianasfinest.com. Thank you, Network Indiana and Eddie Griffith, for helping get us on the radio across the state of Indiana. We appreciate their time and effort and their partnership. So that if you're listening to us in your car, hopefully your seatbelt's buckled, hopefully you're driving the speed limit, you're not texting on your phone, you're just listening to the amazing content that you're about to hear. And thank you to our friend Tom Trial for being behind the camera and getting us on the YouTube channel. If you search for the Indiana State Police on the YouTube channel, you will find an incredible amount of content and videos, historical videos, lots of great things there. So thank you, Tom. It is that time of year. The state flower is blooming. That is the orange construction barrel. And we're here coming up right on Work Zone Safety Awareness Week. And so my guests today are Kylie Kramer. She's the Public Relations Director from INDOT, and good friend First Sergeant Brent Gallinson, who works as our liaison between INDOT and ISP. So welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So here we are, warm weather. Can't wait. Short sleeves on our uniforms and lots of construction zones, although they've never really stopped around here.
You are right. They are coming up on construction season, and we are seeing the spring and into summer construction season. We'll start to see more of those construction barrels for sure. But that's why it's so important that we're talking about this big topic that we're talking about today.
Now here in Indianapolis, the big news is recently is the North Split opened, which we're not going to have to deal with that to the extent that we did last year, but there's still a lot of work to be done through that area. So if you're heading through downtown Indiana, the crossroads of America, downtown Indianapolis, expect to see some construction sites. So what are some of the most common things, First Sergeant, that you see or that we see violations in the work zone of drivers doing wrong?
Certainly. Speeding, following too closely, unsafe lane movements, those tend to lead to the majority of our crashes. But in addition to those, we do continue to see a lot of distracted driving, people on their phones when they're not supposed to be, eyes aren't on the road. So those are the majority of our issues. But we continue to try and enforce as much as possible. But at the end of the day, we really are hoping motorists will take the signs seriously and the workers on the side of the road seriously to help prevent some of this.
Yeah, and we need that visible patrol that we all already do to get that voluntary compliance, because construction zones often offer unique challenges to enforcement because there's limited places where we can actually safely pull somebody over. So you might see us working a couple miles before the zone or a couple miles after the zone just so people see us.
Absolutely. And we do our best prior to the zone to slow everybody down if we can and stop them prior to the zone, because we don't want to create further hazards, as you mentioned, within that construction zone. But there are only so many troopers and there's only so much time to enforce within the construction zones. We really would like to see motorists have that voluntary compliance and think about, what if that was my son, daughter, father, mother on the side of the road working? Would my driving behavior be the same? So we really want motorists to take that seriously.
Yeah, great point. And Kylie, oftentimes I get asked, why is the speed limit reduced when the workers aren't even there? And work zone safety isn't only about the workers. It's about lane shifts, narrow lanes, sudden lanes ending, merges, things like that. So that's why people need to slow down.
Exactly. That, and we're trying to enforce kind of the stoppage of habitual driving. If one day we allow you to go 75 when there's no workers out there, and then the next day we allow you to go 55 in the work zone, it's habitual driving. You're going to go back to the 75. We're trying to make sure that people are being safe in the construction zone. And also there is so much to a construction zone and a work zone that enforce the certain mile per hour that we go. There's so much to it, and it's really hard to explain every single detail because there is engineering, there's merging, there's things of that nature. And every single work zone is unique, which is why it allows for different people and different ISP officers to be in certain areas, especially we're seeing in Hancock County, we don't have shoulders in that area for you guys to pull people over. Right. So every single work zone is unique. So it is a different mile per hour and people to be in certain lanes. So everyone should treat each work zone uniquely, but also be in that voluntary compliance as well.
And so I think we get a lot of complacent drivers. People get in their routines and they don't expect change. They just drive from point A to point B with very, very little knowledge of what's happening in front of their hood. Yeah. What are some of the first signs that you're coming into a construction zone? Like, what are some of the first indications that maybe something's coming up?
Again, every single work zone is very unique, but there's going to be several different ones. So if you're seeing in Hancock County, for example, on I-70, you see that we have those monitors out saying, hey, this is what it is and this is what you're going right now. So maybe slow down. And we have the blinking to make sure you see that you need to slow down. We'll have cones out. If you need to merge into a certain lane, you'll start to see the cones start to angle in a certain way. You might see shields. So in North Split, we do have some shields down on the lanes saying where you're going, especially because right now we have different directionals going on right now. But different construction zones offer different things. But the biggest thing you can see are the cones. That's definitely going to be there. At night, you might see some blinking, flashing lights, especially if there are people out there. Or you might see some big INDOT trucks that are telling you to shift certain ways, depending on if it's just an overnight structure or things of that nature. But there's a lot of different things. You just have to look out for them.
Yeah, and First Sergeant, I think some of the most devastating crashes that we see in construction zones are crashes in the queue. What we call the traffic backup is the queue. So
Absolutely.
Talk about some of the things that we do to try to prevent that and what people might see.
Certainly. Well, as law enforcement, we are asked a lot of times by INDOT to sit at the back of backups at construction zones, at the back of the queue, as you mentioned. And our lights will be on, trying to slow people down. Unfortunately, we don't have big signboards on the back of our car saying we are stopped on the shoulder because there's a backup ahead. So our red and blue lights are an indicator for you if we're on the shoulder and you don't see anything really going on. Well, why is that officer sitting there? There's nobody around him or her, but it's because we're trying to get you to slow down because there's a hazard up ahead. And the hazard up ahead is going from possibly 70 miles an hour, give or take, to stop traffic due to the construction zone. In addition to law enforcement doing that function, we've added what's called queue trucks the last several years. And they do have their trucks. They have big signs on them that says stop traffic ahead. They generally have amber lights on. And they kind of back up at a safe distance ahead of the queue to try and get you to slow down. But as law enforcement, we don't have that luxury with the signboard. So please, especially if you've seen construction zone ahead signs and now you see a police officer on the side of the road, take that seriously. Understand there's very likely a backup ahead that we should be slowing down for.
Yeah, and that's time to change your focus. Look ahead, look for brake lights, look for flashers, slow down.
Absolutely.
Slow down. I mean, the root of all of the violations that we see in work zones is speed, because people are in a hurry. That's why they tailgate. That's why they weave in and out of traffic. They drive fast because they're in a hurry. So plan ahead and give yourself plenty of time to get to your destination so that if you are slowed down, it's not a big deal. Oftentimes, the slowdowns are caused by these traffic queues or these backups, which are caused by a merge. Mm-hmm. And I think a backup at a merge is a culmination of a bunch of selfish drivers. We have both sides. We have the selfish driver who stays out in the closed lane until the very last minute. And then we have the selfish driver over here that says, I'm not going to let them in. And
Absolutely.
Before you know it, we come to a stop, which backs up traffic. So talk about how a merge is supposed to work. Yeah. And if everybody just had courtesy, if everybody, hey, I get it that you got stuck in that lane, come on over in front of me, yeah. Everybody would flow right through.
Yeah. I think Hoosiers are some great people, and I think they are always looking out for their neighbor. And I hope that translates to the road. So when it does come to an emerging area, again, we do have those areas where you'll start to see cones slowly force you to go over there. And when you do see the signs start to move over, put on your blinker. Don't just go on without your blinker. That doesn't give anyone else the courtesy of letting you in. And also just be patient. Everyone else is in a hurry. Everyone else is trying to get to their destination and try and get there really fast. A merge does hold up traffic quite a little bit. But if everyone were to just let people in, and if everyone were to take the signs and not force their way in, or wait until the very last second, it does make for more of an efficient merge.
Yeah. And speaking of efficiency, let's talk about crashes in the work zone and the first responders' response to that. That is, our number one priority is everybody's safety. And we understand that every second that we have that lane closed or that road closed is backing up traffic.
Correct.
But we also have an obligation to do a proper investigation. So talk about some of the things that are happening even from the moment of that first call to make sure that road gets reopened.
Sure. So when we first get a call of a crash and we find out certain basic information in our dispatch center, well, is it in the roadway? Is anybody injured? Are you able to move out of the roadway? Things of that nature. If we determine that the crash is unable to move out of the roadway, as first responders, especially in construction zones, because there's no shoulders, there's a lack of amount of lanes available to us due to lane restrictions within the zone, we're going to be using our lights and siren to try and get through traffic as best as we can to get to that scene. What helps us a lot is if there's two lanes in the construction zone, there's a right lane and left left lane, you see us trying to use that left lane to get to a scene, move as far to the right as you possibly can to make room for our cars to get through. And so we can get to the scene and not only check for injuries, but hopefully get the vehicles out of the road as quickly as possible to help for smooth traffic through there. But as Sergeant Prine said, we do have to do a thorough investigation. So sometimes those two ideologies conflict a little bit. We do want to do a thorough investigation. We don't want to put anybody's safety in jeopardy that's already at the crash scene. So sometimes you may see us leaving vehicles and or people in the roadway for a period of time because medics need to get there and check them out. Fire engines need to arrive on scene. Tow trucks need to arrive on scene, things of that nature. So be patient with us. Please understand we're doing the best we can to get to the scene safely, and also understand all traffic may need to be stopped because maybe we need to come from the other direction to get to that scene in a construction zone. So we'll come the wrong way safely, of course, with all lanes stopped to get to that scene as best as we can.
And it's another thing that slows people down, and I understand the natural curiosity, but that's what we call rubberneckers. People even go in the other direction that are unaffected, that are slowing down almost to a stop to get a look at the crash. Mm-hmm. And one thing that amazes me as I'm standing on this crash scene doing whatever I need to do is if you counted, I bet 1 out of every 5 people that are driving by have their phone in their hand trying to take pictures or video of the crash. And my question is why? Why do you need pictures or video of somebody else's crash? Yeah. Are you trying to get a video of a dead body? So it's just so frustrating that people can't just say, oh, that's really unfortunate for them. But my job is to get through this safely and efficiently so that the traffic behind me can too.
Sure.
And so what are some of the keys that coming up this next week of Work Zone Safety Awareness Week? What are some things that folks are going to be seeing?
Yeah. So it's a statewide campaign and it's a nationwide campaign. I know that the Indiana Department of Transportation is really focusing on the key message. And the key message this year is do your part. We share the road. So it's kind of putting the message kind of back on the motorists and kind of saying we all share the road. Even if we're out there doing construction in a place that you don't want us doing construction, we're out there and we need to share the road. Again, Hoosiers are such kind people, and it needs to translate to the road, and it needs to translate into the respect and the courteous. I think that the biggest thing that people will be seeing is support. We have a lot of partners like ISP who are supporting us and working with us. We're also doing a lot of amazing content and a lot of great stuff that's kind of eye-opening that we're going to be kind of putting out on our pages soon. And then Orange, that's why we're wearing orange, but Orange is Go Orange Safety Day, and that is on April 19th on Wednesday. So we're really asking everyone to kind of take part in that. Wear orange for your support, and hashtag Go Orange for Safety is our hashtag.
And again, work zone safety isn't just about protecting the workers, although it's important. And I've always told folks, and when I pull somebody over for speeding in a work zone, and sometimes I have a chance to talk with them, I say, if you've ever had to stand inches away from cars traveling 70 or 80 miles an hour, I think it would change your perspective on how you drive through here. Because no matter how long you've done it, it's still a really uneasy feeling knowing you're inches away from that massive metal traveling 70 miles an hour. I mean, it's terrifying. And so folks just need to do their part.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so as we come into construction season, which seems to never end right now, I mean, with technology, with the way that we have to change these roads, I can tell you they work very, very hard to keep as much open as possible, but we just have to do the upgrades. And so it'll be nice when it's done.
Yes, it will.
And so what are some of the big projects going on this summer in the Indianapolis area that people should be watching out for?
Well, we have several. As you mentioned, the North Split is not fully completed yet, so there still are some lane restrictions and reduced speed limits through the North Split on I-70 and 65. There will be workers present during the day and at night through there for at least the next couple of months. Additionally, on the northeast side of Indianapolis by 465 and I-69 Allisonville Road, we have what's called our 465 Clear Path project. And there's a lot of added travel lanes and reconfiguration going on, and that's going to last beyond the end of this year. So that will be going on all summer, and a lot of work will be getting done with not only lane restrictions, but ramp restrictions. Some ramps will be closed that you're used to using, so please be patient. Look ahead for detours, and will help all of us get through there safely. Additionally, on the southwest side of Indianapolis is our I-69 Finish Line project, and 465 basically around where 65 comes in on the south side up to about Kentucky Avenue. There's going to be a lot of work and no shoulders, lane restrictions for bringing Interstate 69 up now from, I believe it's into Johnson County and up into Marion to tie into 465.
Yeah, so a lot of work going on. So the last thing I'll leave you with here today is remember this. Your are the speed limit signs that you see will trump your GPS every time. So don't try to convince me that your GPS says the speed limit's 70 and you're in a 45-mile-an-hour construction zone and you were only doing what your GPS said, because the signs trump the GPS. Pay attention to the signs. Kylie, First Sergeant Gollinson, thank you so much for coming in and being our guest, and hopefully we have a safe year in the work zones.
Thank you.
Thank you.